Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Adam Walker, 35, is a renowned architect in Boston. His name is often cited in specialist journals for his bold and elegant projects, sleek buildings with simple lines, luxury hotels, libraries of glass and light wood. On paper, his life appears to be that of an accomplished man. But the truth is much darker. Since the death of his wife, Megan, 3 years earlier, taken away in just a few months by a pancreatic cancer, Adam is now only a shadow of himself. The world has frozen. His gaze, once fixed on the sky and the horizon, on the curves of cathedrals and sacred proportions, has faded. It has become hard, precise, functional. Like his sketches, clear but soulless. He lives alone with their daughter, Lena, a little 6-year-old, lively, funny, full of clumsy tenderness. She has her mother's brown curls and her big, curious eyes. Both mischievous and sensitive, she feels everything. She knows, without ever saying it, that her father struggles every day not to sink. Their apartment, located in the chic and quiet neighborhood of Beacon Hill, is filled with light, but not warmth. The family pictures remain frozen on the wall, untouched. Megan's smile still floats there, like a constant reminder of what is no longer there. Lena has a little corner of her own, filled with books, drawings, and stuffed animals, but she prefers to sleep in her father's bed on nights when he forgets to turn off the living room light. Every morning is a race against time. Adam gets up before the sun, makes breakfast without any appetite, dresses Lena without saying much, and drops her off at school without lingering. Then he rushes off to the architecture firm, where his cold efficiency impresses and worries his colleagues as much as it worries them. He works tirelessly, as if to escape. In the evening, he comes home late, heats up some soup or makes scrambled eggs, then collapses from exhaustion. It's a routine, a survival, not a life. But that Wednesday morning, something changes. It's snowing in Boston. A fine, continuous snow, coating the sidewalks and stone steps. The rooftops are covered in a white blanket, and the silence is heavy and cottony. Adam gets up, still numb from a night that was too short. He enters Lena's room, expecting to see her jump out of bed like every morning, but she doesn't move. She is curled up, her face red and wet with tears. She is trembling, shivering, her small, sweaty hands gripping the sheets. "Dad, I'm cold, and I'm in pain." Adam approaches, places his hand on his forehead. Burning. Feverish. Very feverish. "Lena? Honey? Are you okay?" She moans weakly, coughs. Her eyes are glassy. Panic rises. He glances at his watch. 7:56 a.m. In less than 2 hours, he has to be at the office for a crucial presentation to a Japanese client who's flown in specially from Tokyo. A luxury hotel project on the East Coast, a multi-million-dollar contract. He can't miss this meeting. But he can't leave Lena alone either. He grabs his phone, his fingers shaking. He calls Cheryl, the usual nanny. No answer. He leaves a message, waits 30 seconds, calls back. Still nothing. He thinks about calling the office to cancel, but hesitates. Too much pressure. Too much at stake. So, almost without thinking, he scrolls through his contacts. His tired eyes fall on a forgotten number, filed under the first name Eva. Eva Sullivan. A name from the past. A woman he hasn't seen in years. An ex, once engaged, with whom everything had suddenly fallen apart. He shouldn't, but he's in a hurry. He thinks he's dialing a number similar to Cheryl's, mixes up the numbers. He doesn't realize the mistake. His voice broken and rushed, he leaves a message. "Hello, this is Adam Walker. I have an emergency. My daughter is sick and I have to go. Please, if you can come. I need help." His voice breaks at the end. He hangs up. He places the phone on the counter, runs his hands over his face. And he stands there in the kitchen for a long moment. Snowflakes are falling outside, and his daughter's fever rises, while the past, unknowingly, is knocking softly at her door. An hour later, as the snow continues to fall silently on Beacon Hill, there is a knock at the door. 3 knocks, sharp, hesitant. Adam, sitting at the kitchen table, face in his hands, jumps. Lena is finally asleep, feverish, short of breath, her forehead still burning despite the cold compresses. He moves toward the door, exhausted, his nerves on edge. He opens. And there, the time stands still. A gust of icy wind blows into the entryway, kicking up a few snowflakes into the vestibule. But Adam doesn't even feel it. He's frozen. In front of him, Eva, brunette, slightly wavy hair, a little shorter than before. Green eyes still as piercing, but more serious. She wears a beige coat, slightly damp from the melted snow, and a midnight blue scarf that she clutches between her fingers as if to protect herself from this moment. His face, it's the same, yet marked. A few fine lines around his eyes. A deeper crease between his brows. But the softness hasn't disappeared. It's there intact. She stares at him, frozen too, as if she expected him not to open it. Or worse, to chase her away. You left a message, she said, her voice low and hoarse with emotion. I thought it was a mistake. Adam, he feels his heart pounding, too hard. His legs become like cotton. He clings to the doorknob, as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. 8 years, 8 years since he'd seen her. 8 years since that rainy morning when she'd left, without a word, without an explanation, leaving him alone with a ring he never had the courage to throw away. He opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. His throat is tight. Finally, after a few seconds of silence that seemed to last an eternity, I was thinking of calling Cheryl. Eva gives a sad, almost imperceptible smile. I thought so. She looks around briefly, at the front of the building, the stairs, then looks back into Adam's eyes. I hesitated to come. I almost turned back. But you said, my daughter is sick. And I couldn't. His words float between them, fragile, suspended. Adam looks down for a moment, then turns slightly. In the living room, we see Lena, lying on the couch under a gray blanket, tiny, pale, her cheeks burning. A small moan escapes her. He grits his teeth. He feels everything coming back, fatigue, fear, old anger, memories of Eva, broken plans, the what-ifs he has swallowed for years. He remains silent for a moment, his heart in turmoil. He looks at her again. That familiar face. That stranger he knew so well. Then he sighs, heavily. Do you want to stay just for today? Eve accepts without another word. A simple nod. She takes off her coat, slowly, as if each movement risks shattering something fragile in the air. The gentle warmth of the apartment contrasts with the biting cold outside. The wooden floorboards creak beneath her feet as she walks toward the living room. Adam watches her, motionless, still in disbelief. A part of him expects to wake up in a few seconds, his heart heavy with the feeling of a dream all too real. Lena, wrapped up in her blanket, weakly turns her head toward this approaching stranger. Her large brown eyes, the same as her mother Megan's, are scrutinizing Eva cautiously. Without speaking, Eva gently kneels beside the sofa. She takes a small, clean handkerchief from her pocket and gently wipes the sweat from Lena's forehead. Then she places her cool hand on her burning skin. What's your name? She asks, in a soft, almost sing-song voice. Lena. The girl whispers. Lena? That's nice. I'm Eva. I'm going to stay with you for a while, okay? Your dad seemed very worried. Lena doesn't answer, but she doesn't push her away either. She closes her eyes slightly, soothed by the soft voice and discreet presence of this woman from another world. Eva gets up and heads toward the kitchen, instinctively remembering the layout of the place. Some details have changed, but the light streaming through the window above the sink is still the same. She cautiously opens the cupboards, finds some broth, a few vegetables, and some noodles. Half an hour later, the smell of hot soup filled the apartment. Adam, sitting in the office corner of the living room, pretends to be working. His gaze constantly slides towards the scene playing out a few meters away. Eva sitting on the floor, legs crossed, holding a spoonful of steaming soup, which she blows gently before handing it to Lena. She tells her a story about elephants dancing in an abandoned circus. Lena smiles, shyly at first, then even bursts out laughing when Eva imitates the voice of a grumpy old clown. Adam looks down. His screen is on, but he sees nothing. Memories flood back, powerful, almost violent. Eva had always wanted to be a teacher. She talked to him about it for hours. She dreamed of reading stories to her children at night, of organizing birthday parties filled with colorful balloons, of creating a world where sweetness and imagination reigned. Adam remembered it all too well now. And he also remembered that day, 8 years ago, when everything had changed. She was gone, without explanation, just a letter. slipped into the mailbox of his apartment building, without a name, without a goodbye. He had barely read it, furious, too hurt to read beyond the first sentence. Since then, he had buried this past in a corner of his memory, well sealed. Or so he thought. But the pain now comes back to him like a dull slap, a forgotten bite that bleeds again. Evening falls. Lena falls asleep on the sofa, her face soothed, a stuffed animal clutched to her. Eva tucks her in carefully, placing a kiss on her forehead, like a mother would. Adam watches her. The silence between them is thick, charged with emotion, regret, and questions. In the kitchen, they find themselves face to face. A mug of warm tea in their hands. Simple, mechanical gestures. Just like in the old days. The seconds drag on. Then Adam finally breaks the silence, his voice hoarse. "Why did you really come, Eva?" She doesn't answer right away. Her eyes lock with his, then look away. She looks at her hands, clasped around her cup. When she speaks, her voice is quiet but clear. "Because I loved you." She pauses, looks up. "And because I never forgot you." A shiver runs through Adam. His heart beats faster, harder. He doesn't know what to say. What he feels is a mixture of pain, anger, but also warmth, coming from far away. He looks down. In the next room, Lena's slow breathing punctuates the silence. In this house full of frozen memories, another form of memorious perhaps being born. The next morning, the snow has stopped falling. A thin ray of sunlight passes through the fogged windows of the apartment, sliding across the wooden floor like a fragile promise. Has 8:03 a.m. There is another knock at the door. Adam, already up, a cup of coffee in his hand, recognizes the silhouette behind the frosted glass. Eva that he stands frozen for a moment, his heart pounding. He didn't call. He didn't ask her to come back. But she is there. Again. When he opens the door, she smiles at him with a modesty that disarms him. In her arms, a small red fox plush toy with a crooked nose and a bottle of raspberry syrup. She says nothing, doesn't justify her presence. She simply holds out the objects. And in the living room, Lena, still tired but a little more lively, lets out a joyful cry. "Eva!" She gets up as best she can and runs to meet him, almost tripping on the carpet. She throws herself into his arms as if it were obvious, as if an invisible thread had already been woven between them. Adam, silent, watches the scene. He says nothing, but he doesn't stop him either. A week passes. Eva comes back every day, always with natural gentleness. Sincere attention. She reads stories to Lena, helps her eat, tucks her in. She teaches her how to make origami, sings her old-fashioned lullabies. They laugh. A lot. Sometimes, Lena looks at her like a presence she's been waiting for without knowing. And every evening, Eva stays a little later. Adam watches her, first wary, then troubled. She fits into their daily routine without forcing it. She finds her place in the silences. She knows when to speak, when to be silent. It's insidious, disarming, and for Adam, painful. He thought his anger was frozen forever, but it shifts, cracks, takes other forms. And then, one evening, as Lena sleeps soundly, the dim light bathing the living room, the tension becomes too much to bear. Adam, arms crossed, leaning against the kitchen doorframe, stares at her for a long time. His voice cracks when it finally leaves his lips. "You destroyed me, Eva." She slowly looks up. "You left." Without a word. Without giving me a chance to understand. He approaches. His gaze is burning. A contained anger, but vibrant, alive. "I was going to ask you to marry me. Remember?" Eva says nothing. She slowly rummages in her bag. She pulls out a small, dog-eared, worn notebook, a soft leather-covered notebook, almost warped by the dampness of the past. She places it on the table, slides it towards him. Adam remains motionless. "I left it in your mailbox. The day I left." He recognizes it. He had never opened it all the way. Eva murmured, "I wasn't ready to become a mother at the time. I was pregnant. I was scared. And I lost the baby." She swallowed. "I didn't tell you anything. I ran away. I ruined everything." And crushing silence settles in. The kind of silence where time stands still. Adam doesn't move. "You were pregnant?" He finally breathes, his throat tight. Eva closes her eyes slowly. "Yes. It was early, but it was real. And I kept it all inside. I was young, terrified, and so ashamed. I thought you'd never want me again." Adam runs a hand over his face. He reels internally. A world he thought had died down has suddenly come back on. Too strong. Too fast. You should have told me, he said, his voice full of regret. I was there, Eva. I would have been there. I would have done anything. She lowers her head, and this time, she cries. Not discreet tears, but long, deep, uncontrollable tears. The kind you hold back for years. The kind you shed when there's nothing left to do but let the mask slip. Adam doesn't move. He looks at her. And despite the pain, despite the betrayal, despite everything, he doesn't feel hatred. Only immense sadness. Perhaps also, somewhere, a stirring of what might still live between them. The weeks go by, discreetly, like snow melting silently. Lena gradually regains his vitality. His cheeks regain color. His eyes shine again with childish mischief. The nightmares fade. The coughing fits disappear. But it's not just the fever that's going away. It's also the solitude, Adam's inner cold, which seems to gradually fade, without him really knowing why, or rather, without wanting to admit it yet. Eva keeps coming, even uninvited. Never too early, never too late. She doesn't try to take up space, but his presence is obvious. Natural. Fluid. She arrives with homemade cakes, puzzles, photo albums for Lena, and sometimes a book for Adam, which she discreetly places on the table without saying a word. She laughs with Lena, does her hair, and helps her with her homework. And when Adam comes home in the evening, he often finds her sitting in the living room, legs crossed beneath her, reading a story or drawing with the little girl. And little ritual settles in. On Saturday morning, all three of them go to the Boston Common Park. Eva brings bread for the ducks. Lena runs to the swings. Adam stays a little behind, hands in his pockets, but he watches them. And sometimes, without realizing it, he smiles. Sunday Ispin cakes maison. Lena insists on cracking the eggs herself. A disaster every time, but Eva lets her. Adam makes coffee, a little clumsily, but he enjoys the smell of maple syrup wafting through the kitchen. In the evening, they watch old movies that Megan loved. Black and white comedies, Italian dramas, old Disney movies. Sometimes Adam finds it hard to cope with these memories coming back, but Eva's presence makes them sweeter, less sharp. And Lena got attached, inevitably, deeply. She looks for Eva's hand when they cross the street. She sometimes calls her Eva Mimi, laughingly, inventing nicknames. She no longer wants to sleep without Eva reading her a story. And Adam, too, finds himself waiting for these moments. He feels something stir inside him. He tries to resist. Out of loyalty to Megan. Out of fear, too. But Eva is there. She's not forcing anything. And that upsets him even more. One April evening, the air is cool but mild. They are returning from a walk along the Charles River, where Lena fed the swans and chased squirrels. She yawns in Eva's arms, curled up against her as if she had always belonged there. Adam opens the apartment door and places the keys on the console table. He glances at them. Eva holds Lena gently, rocking her slowly, as if rocking a secret. And in a breath, Eva whispers to the little girl, "You know, I'm not your mom, and I never will be. But I would be honored if one day you wanted me to be a very special friend to you." She doesn't wait for an answer. She speaks with the fragile sincerity of someone who hopes for nothing, but dares to reach out all the same. Lena, her eyes half closed, smiles. And in a burst of childlike lucidity, she replies, "You could be my emergency mom." A suspended silence. Adam, who was about to take off his jacket, stops dead. Then a laughter bursts out his own. Frank, unexpected. The first real laugh he'd let out in months. Maybe years. Eva looks at him, surprised. Then she laughs too, tears in her eyes. Lena, proud of her find, giggles in her arms. At that moment, an invisible thread connects them. Something has been reconciled. Not completely, but a lock has been broken. A barrier Adam never thought he would cross has just broken. And in this small living room, with walls still marked by Megan's absence, a form of hope, fragile but real, is slowly beginning to take root. A few months later, spring returns to Boston. The streets of Beacon Hill are regaining their colors. The magnolias are bursting into pink and white flowers. The balconies are adorned with planters. Children are playing skipping rope on the sidewalks, and the cafes are reopening their terraces under the first warm rays of the sun. In this renewed decor, Adam's life has changed, gently, slowly, but deeply. Eva no longer lives only in her memories or her hesitations. She lives a few streets further, in a small apartment with light walls, decorated with plants, books, and small drawings that Lena gave her. She resumed evening classes in pedagogy. Her old dream of teaching children had caught up with her. She's not yet in Adam's house. They didn't want to rush things. Adam, especially, is moving forward cautiously. He's still afraid. Afraid of loving too much. Of losing again. Of betraying, perhaps, the memory of Megan. But he no longer denies what he feels. Neither for Eva, nor for the place she naturally takes in Lena's life. He accepts her as one accepts an unexpected spring after a long winter, with gratitude and a certain fear of seeing it fade too quickly. That Sunday, the sky is clear, the wind gentle. They prepared a picnic in the park, by the pond. Eva brought chicken wraps, Adam a still warm apple pie, and Lena insisted on carrying the red plaid blanket herself. They settled down in the shade of a large oak tree. Lena runs between the trees, a wreath of dandelions on her head, while Adam and Eva watch her silently, sitting side by side. Their complicity no longer needs words. There are simple gestures that speak for themselves. An exchanged glance, a discreet smile, a brush of a hand. After picking flowers and climbing a fallen trunk, Lena comes back to them, rosy cheeks, eyes shining with mischief. She holds something behind her back, proud of her effect. "I drew a picture," she said. "For us." She hands the sheet to Adam. A slightly crumpled piece of paper, drawn with colored pencils. In the center, a big red heart, clumsy but vibrant. And inside, 3 silhouettes. A large one, a medium one, a small one. And behind them, a house with star-shaped windows. On the roof, a smiling sun. "It's us," she whispers. Adam stares at the drawing for a long time. He feels a lump in his throat. A deep, dull emotion invades him. He looks up at Eva, who also looks at him, a little tense, as if she were holding her breath. She says nothing. She expects nothing. But she hopes, perhaps. And then, without thinking, he takes her hand. Naturally, firmly, as if he had finally found the courage to hold her for good. Eva looks at him, moved, her fingers closing around his. They don't know what the future holds. There will be doubts, awkwardness, maybe tears. But in this moment, under this May sky, with Lena dancing around them and singing, they know they have a chance. And they have already done the hardest part, open their hearts. Adam gently squeezes Eva's hand, his eyes fixed on his daughter's drawing. He smiles, finally serene, and whispers, "Sometimes a wrong number can lead to the right person." He looks at Lena, who is spinning around, her arms open to the sky. At the right time.